Hi, I'm Grae Buck, and today we're going to be talking about fishing a coffee tube. This is one of my favorite techniques and the first technique that I learned for fishing for smallmouth bass. Generally, I use a 1/4 ounce. That's a good all-around weight for fishing either in 3 foot or less, or you can fish it out in 10 foot or deeper. But it's very simple. What you want to do is just kind of wet the head a little bit, just so it slides into the tube easier. And what we're going to do is, there's a hole here around those tentacles. You're going to slide it up in there, bring it up in the hook eye, you just pop it right through there. It's as simple as that. So there's a few different techniques when fishing a tube. When you make that long cast, you can either just drag it along the bottom here, and that's just kind of imitating just either little goby or crayfish, just kind of meandering along, just minding his own business, and all of a sudden those smallies just come over and quick eat it. And when I'm dragging it, what I'm doing is I want to feel those rocks. I'm looking for areas that have just little chunk boulders. It could be round rocks, it doesn't really matter. But here, there's one right there. Whoa, he came off. But you kind of just keep dragging it, and what it does is you'll just feel that tick. And that single tick is when the fish picks it up. The rocks down there, that's the key to getting that bait down. So you just want to work it real slow, just keep dragging it along, and just kind of keep working it there. You'll get hung up a decent bit doing this with that exposed hook. So one of my favorite ways to get that off is, you'll see it's hung up there. A lot of times you take your line, you'll give it a quick snap. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. There it goes. And when that comes off there, I would say at least twice a day during like a full tournament day, when you snap it like that, those fish are looking at it. When it's stuck, it pops off real quick, and those fish come over and just eat it real quick. Because you'll think you're hung up, and then you'll get it off for that split second, and you got one. So when I'm dragging the tube, a lot of times I'll put my finger just a little bit on the ardent gliss there. And what that is, it's the braid. So it just lets me get that little bit extra feeling. If those fish are just being real finicky and just barely picking it up, I'll just feel that little extra tick right there. It just helps me detect the extra subtle bites. You can also fish it with a kind of just quick little snaps. I usually give it 1 or 2 snaps. And what that does is it gives that reaction strike. Those fish feel like the bait's trying to get away from them real quick. So you just give that 2 little snaps, and what that does is it'll get it up off the bottom, and it floats and spirals back down. So it just gets that strike out of them real quick. A lot of times, if the, depending on the depth of the water, here we're only fishing about 5 foot. So we're keeping this bait with just short little snaps. If I'm fishing out in 20, 30 foot during the summer, that's when you call it cracking a tube, and you give it 2 big ones. It'll bring it up 8 foot off the bottom, then it'll spiral back down. And you just work it all the way back to the boat in that sort of erratic action, and you'll catch a lot of big smallmouth doing it. All right, right here you're gonna see the reason why this tube works so well. This is what the fords are eating up here in the St. Lawrence River. It's called a round goby. And you can see, this is a large one here, but those smallies still eat it. That's a 3.5 inch tube. You can see it has very similar colors to it, and those smallmouth just come in and just scoop them up. A lot of those gobies are the size of this 3 inch tube or 3.5 inch tube. So one of the great things about fishing a tube is the bait lasts for a ton of fish. You can catch them just over and over again. The part that usually ends up getting ripped up will be up at the head here, but you can simply just push it back in a little bit if that happens, if you got a big hole there. Turn it, whatever, half, a quarter, or a turn, pop it right back through there, and it'll be good to go again. The other part that will get ripped up on a tube is these tentacles, which you would think would be a big deal, but I've found that as you catch more fish on the tube, those smallmouth, they end up liking it more when you get it down to about half or a quarter of the tentacles left. It's amazing how many more fish you just keep catching on a tube. You can catch 10, 20 of them on it, just a single one. It's a great economical bait, and you gotta make sure you pick up a few packs.